Hi, this is Jerry Edmon, and this is Success in Life. I want to talk to you for a few moments about the rod of discipline. I was listening to the biography of Samuel Johnson. He was considered the brightest light of the Enlightenment of the early 1700s, an amazing man. In his later years, they asked how he grasped such a demand of Latin, and his answer was pretty interesting. He said, "My master whipped me very well. Without that, sir, I should have done nothing." And here's what he continued. He said, "There is now less flogging in our great schools than formerly, but then less is learned there. So that what the boys get on one end, they lose on the other." Well, I think I understand where he was coming from. He was saying that the rod made the difference in his day. But baby, not today. I'm just telling you something. We are truly in a weird place. You know, I watch people, and of course I'm always intrigued by human behavior and how people act in certain situations, and it's almost like feelings now are valued far above discipline, and as a result, people don't move very far. Discipline is the only thing that actually moves you forward in life. But we're in a real touchy-feely time, and there's not even consequences for the behavior of this rebellious, childish temper tantrum that we call our generation. You know, it's one of those generations where everybody gets a trophy and no one's feelings get hurt. Yeah, I mean, isn't that weird? I remember there was it was kind of a t-ball. It was just, little kids playing ball. But the coach was a lady, and she would not let them keep score because she didn't want any of the kids to feel bad. She didn't want any of them to get their feelings hurt by losing. And when you think it couldn't get worse than that, I was reading where a professor at the University of Georgia allowed his students to choose their own grades as part of a stress reduction policy. Seriously. Now get this. He said, if you feel unduly stressed by the grade, it's hard, it's hard for me to even read this. He said, if you feel unduly stressed by a grade for any accessible material or the overall course, you can email your instructor indicating what grade you think is appropriate, and it will be so changed. No explanation required. Oh, I'm telling you, it's just weird. I'm just thinking, dear Lord, with those kind of standards, I'm hoping that the University of Georgia doesn't have a medical program. Oh man, can you imagine your doctor passing his exams just about like that? But I'm just telling you, it's really a strange thing, and it's almost like there's a ultra liberal fanaticism that's poisoned the water, and everybody that's drinking there is suffering its consequences. Now, what are the consequences, you might ask? Well, I just pulled up actually just yesterday, and it said in mathematics the United States ranks 36th. Imagine that, 36th we rank in mathematics. And I can't tell you how many little countries that I had to look on the map to see where they were ranking ahead of us. In reading, the United States ranks 25th. In science, the United States ranks 28th. Do you know who ranks number 1, number 2, and number 3 in all three of these categories? China, Singapore, and Japan. Now that's amazing, isn't it? Now, why in the world has America dropped to that place? Well, the reason is because the places of learning, they've completely laid aside any sense of discipline because they're afraid of hurting someone's feelings. But I'll tell you something the United States ranks number 1 in. Do you want to know what that is? Arrogance. And they also rank number 1 in blame. I'm just telling you, they've lost their way. And teachers have been neutered and declawed to the point that they're totally unable to control their own classrooms. Teachers endure physical abuse, verbal abuse, outright resistance and rebellion, and they've been totally stripped of any authority or power to deal with these little criminals in the making. Now, I know that's harsh, but really that's what it's becoming. When a child has no discipline and they're allowed to bully or whatever the case might be to get their way, well, they'll do that for a while until they move forward in life and they hit a wall and they either end up in prison or end up in some horrible condition that we hate to even think about. Now, let me ask you something. Do you know why these kids act the way they do? The reason is because rebellion has been bred into them. See, it starts with a home. The home is the place where we have started this. And then it's undergirded by these hypersensitive liberals who have this crazy mindset about discipline. Let me ask you this question. How do you deal with rebellion? Well, I'll answer that. You deal with it with a strong hand. Being passive only fuels the flames of rebellion and of laziness. That's just simply the way it is. And I don't necessarily know that I have the answer for this generation, but I just assure you that what we've been doing for the last few decades has not worked. As a matter of fact, it didn't just hold its own, it's just gotten worse. And I strongly urge you to pay attention to this next generation that's coming up because, like it or not, we have a responsibility to them. They're our children. They're the children in our neighborhood. The children, and it won't be long until they grow up, and we're going to have to teach them responsibility. But the only way that they're going to do that is through that old-fashioned term of discipline in whatever way that may be visualized by you. You know, the fact is, there is a rod of discipline that is necessary to move anybody forward in life. And the reason is because I think we are just instinctively lazy. I mean, we don't want to have to do it. We don't have to get up early. We don't want to have to tuck our shirt tails in. We don't want to have to finish the work. We don't have to we don't like doing anything. We don't like eating healthy. I mean, everything that turns bad usually starts because of a lack of discipline. Somewhere there's got to be a rod of discipline in our life. And I personally think that in the school system, it needs to be returned. I remember, of course, this tells my age just a little bit, but I remember getting SWATs. And I'm just telling you right now, it worked. It had an impact on me. Did it damage me? Did it ruin me? Of course not. It didn't at all. But it was a sharp discipline. And we learned a lot of things about what not to do. We learned about behavior modification. And so I just encourage you to begin to give your attention to this particular need, because we do have this great responsibility to this next generation that's coming up. Their success is our success, and their failure is our failure, and we cannot allow them to go down the wrong road. Who knows? Maybe an introduction to the rod might make a difference again. Well, it's something to think about. This is Success in Life. My name is Jerry Edmon, and I've enjoyed being with you. We'll catch you next time.
We hope you've enjoyed this podcast about success in life. If you would like more information about this subject or other materials or resources offered by Jerry Edmon, please go to www.jerryedmon.com.